Hello, good evening. Happy Thursday evening, everyone out there. My name is Paul Carganilla. I'm the Community Affairs Manager for the Oxnard Police Department, and this is Straight to You, a live Q&A. We like to do this. We started doing this, of course, when the pandemic began last year as a way to still continue to connect with our community and introduce everyone who is out there to our officers and get to know them and their history and what it is that they do for the department. And I'm so excited tonight. We've got a very special guest. Maricela says hello on the live Facebook chat. Hello, thank you for joining us. And for anyone who is joining us within this half hour of time, right now it's about 5:30 p.m. right here in beautiful downtown Oxnard on the West Coast. We're going to go for about a half an hour. So if you're watching this after 6 p.m. Western, you're watching a replay. But if you are here live while we are doing this between 5:30 and 6, please join us in the comment section. Ask any questions that you have that might pop up for Officer Castillo, our guest, or for an officer of the Oxnard Police Department in general, as he is one. He does have a very focused position at this time, but he is connected with, of course, a lot of his peers through the entire department here. Retired Commander Miranda is in the chat. Hello. Hey, Commander, good to see you. Vicky, Darlene, hello. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll go ahead and jump right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to our Crisis Intervention Team Officer, Officer David Castillo. Welcome, David, to Straight to You.
Hey, how's it going?
Great. Thank you for being here.
Of course.
I wanted to have you on because I think that your assignment that you're in right now is very interesting, and I'm so excited to share it with everybody out there who's watching. But before we get to that, I like to start at the very beginning when getting to know our guests and our officers. And I just have to ask Officer David Castillo, born and raised?
I was born in Camarillo, grew up on the south side of Oxnard, went to E.O. Green Junior High, graduated from Wainimi High School, so I'm local to the city, grew up here, and yeah, this is where I'm working now.
That's amazing. So when in your life did you get bit by the law enforcement bug? When did you decide you wanted to be a police officer?
Well, initially I wanted to join the army like my dad and my brother, but the summer before my senior year, when I was in the process of doing that, they found out that I had asthma, so I wasn't allowed to join. So that kind of fell to the wayside, and I was actually a automotive technician. I worked Honda of Oxnard for a few years, and then so about 2009 is when I got the bug, and I was in the Ventura County Reserve Academy. So graduated in 2010 from the Reserve Academy.
So how did it happen? Did you meet somebody who was an officer that kind of inspired you to do it, or was it just something that kind of clicked one day?
My friend was just like, "Hey, you want to do this with me?" And I'd always like I mentioned earlier, I wanted to be in the military, and that didn't work out. So I was like, well, let me see if law enforcement, is something that I would like to pursue.
So I have to ask because our last guest was the new assistant chief, Denise Schadinger, and she had kind of the same story. She had a friend who said, "Hey, I'm doing this. Will you do it with me?" And then her friend didn't actually make it through the academy to be hired. Did your friend make it?
He After the first day, I said, "Hey, are we going back?" And he's like, "I'm never going back."
Well, are you guys still in touch? Because you owe him for like
Oh
your.
yeah, absolutely. I still talk to him every once in a while.
That's great. And thank goodness for him for lighting that fire within you, because we're so glad to have you here on the department. And wait, so you graduated, I'm sorry, you said 2010?
2010.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you've been with the department for over a decade now.
Wow.
What assignments have you had along your career journey here?
So after I got hired full time, I did about a year as a reserve officer. Then I got hired full time. Went into patrol, worked patrol for a while. In 2015, I was assigned to downtown as in the central business district as a district officer. After that, I became a beat coordinator for Beat 12, which is the northeast part of the city. Um, and then that's kind of where it gets a little confusing because I started working two full two full-time assignments. I've been working up until January of this year. I was working two full-time assignments for about 2 years. So, uh, beat coordinator and crisis intervention officer, and then from beat coordinator, I joined the homeless liaison unit, and then that just ended in January, and I became the full-time crisis intervention team officer. So those were my full-time assignments, and then at the department we have collateral assignments also. Um, some of the collateral assignments that I have right now are field training officer. I'm part of our drone team, so unmanned aerial systems unit pilot, driving instructor, not only for the department but also for the police academy. So I help out with that too. Um, those are a few of the assignments that I'm doing right now.
Just a few. It sounds like you've got a full plate.
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear about these two assignments that you mentioned that you've been on the past 5 years. Starting with beat coordinator, we have obviously with any, I don't want to say with any city because I don't know that for sure, but with most cities, for the police department, it's split into different like sections or beats that officers, when they're on patrol, they're kind of assigned to a specific beat for that shift. A lot of the officers I know here have this, they're assigned to the same beat for like 6-month increments. And but I always love to point out that we have these beat coordinators and that are kind of assigned to each beat. Can you explain, if somebody out there has never heard of what a beat coordinator is, can you just explain that to them?
Yeah, so a beat coordinator is somebody that is responsible for a specific area, and um, that way the people in that area are able to reach out and say, "Hey, that's Officer Castillo. He's responsible for my area. So if I have a problem, I can go to him and express those concerns, and he's able to work with me and to address those problems and hopefully solve the problem and improve the quality of life for not only that resident but their neighbors in that community. So it's kind of like a personal officer for that area.
And is it different from our neighborhood policing team, or is that kind of the same thing?
It's 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 very similar. It's just that our neighbor it is part of the neighborhood policing team, just that the district coordinators have a little bit bigger area that they're in charge of.
I see. And so it's more focused on the quality of life issues, the recurring problems, rather than, being on patrol and going from call to call to call.
Right. We have a little bit more time to focus on those problems where a patrol officer is not necessarily going to have the same amount of time to solve a problem. So we're able to, use our time wisely to fix those problems for the residents.
Well, thank you for telling us about that. And if you are an Oxnard resident and you're watching and you want to know who your beat coordinator is, we have a map on our website, oxnardpd.org. It's the beat coordinator map, and it has contact information. I believe it has the phone number and email address for the beat coordinator who is currently assigned to the beat in which you reside. So go ahead and get familiar with them. Send them a hello. They would love that, I'm sure. And for everybody who's watching right now live, I just want to remind you, I said at the top of the show, but it's been a few minutes. If you have any questions for Officer Castillo, go ahead and drop them in the comment section here on the thread. And I'm monitoring those. We will get to them in the last 10 minutes or so of this interview. But so the next one I wanted to talk to you about was the homeless liaison unit. Now, you said that ended, that the unit didn't end. Your assignment there did, right?
Right. Yeah. My time in the unit stopped so that I could do crisis intervention team officer full time.
And as far as I can remember, that unit's about a year old. It started maybe the beginning of 2020.
No, it's been it's been here for a few years.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
And what is the purpose or basic scope of that unit?
So homeless liaison officers try to connect the homeless population to services, try to get them off the streets as much as possible, but also conducting enforcement at the same time. So um, it's a quality of life issue. It's a and, you know a community. It's a community oriented policing position where they need to work with the community in order to solve the little or the specific issues that the maybe business owner is having or residents are having encampments set up. So the homeless liaison officers work with the residents and other parts of the city, like environmental resources, to get things cleaned up. They also work with Salvation Army um, to try to get these people that are on the streets to try to get them to, accept services and maybe find shelter or some other type of whether it's a drug and alcohol abuse program, but just get them help so that they're not on the streets.
It seems like with your background with a crisis intervention team, that was a really good fit for you.
Yeah, it worked out well. A lot of times the people that we contact on the streets, for a variety of reasons, whatever it is, they're on the streets, but sometimes they have mental health issues, and we're able to use our partnership with Ventura County Behavioral Health or Salvation Army to try to get them help.
And can you explain like a nutshell version of what the crisis intervention team is, if you know, like when it started, how long it's been around, but mainly just the focus of it and the specific skill set that that team has?
Well, the crisis intervention team it's not just an Oxnard thing, it's a national thing for law enforcement. Um, and the officers get specifically trained to identify and identify the signs or symptoms where they might be responding to a call where a subject is in crisis because of a mental health issue. And most of the officers at the department are crisis intervention trained. I am just the specific officer that works with a mental health professional from Ventura County Behavioral Health in a police and mental health collaboration. So, crisis intervention is specifically designed to help officers de escalate uh, subjects that they might contact in crisis and come to a peaceful resolution on that call that they're on or that contact.
So do you actually go out into the field with that mental health expert from the county?
Yeah, so there are a few different models of the law enforcement mental health collaboration, and the one that we have at the Oxnard Police Department is more of a case management type. But my partner from Ventura County Behavioral Health and I, we do go out into the field, but it's more of a follow up type of situation where um, an officer may have uh, had a call for service and they had to take somebody on a 5150 hold, and that report comes across my desk, a couple days later, and I respond to the residents and see if I can contact that person if they're at the house or contact the family and see if there's, make sure that that person's getting connected or if the family needs resources to help them, because a lot of times the family is not really sure what their role is or how they can help, so we're there to let them know that we're there to support them, and if they need help, we're there, and they provide them with resources, and whatever questions they have, we're there to answer them.
That sounds really amazing. And you mentioned just a few minutes ago that most officers have been through the training. Can you describe what the CIT training is for just any even officer that's assigned to patrol?
Yeah, for Ventura County, it's a um, 40-hour class where the officer is going to attend, and he's going to become familiar with different types of crisis intervention techniques and de-escalation techniques, and disengagement, re-engagement techniques, and just give them skills to help deal with persons that may be in crisis due to mental illness.
And a big part of that training, I imagine, is also de-escalation.
Yes, very huge because it at the end of the day, we don't want anybody to get hurt, so we need to learn those skills or get better at those skills so that there's a peaceful resolution for these types of calls.
I've been talking a lot lately with, of course, next month, April is Autism Awareness Month. And I was recently having a conversation with our local Alzheimer's representatives, and they, a lot of times this comes up. Are officers trained to recognize signs of if someone has Alzheimer's or if someone is autistic? Are those kind of things that are covered in that training?
Yeah, things like autism or traumatic brain injury and other types of mental illness, so that the officers can become familiar with those things and recognize it we're on the call, when they are on the call.
That's great. Sounds like super valuable training, and that's wonderful that our officers are going through that. Um, so, how long have you been involved? I know you were named CIT Officer of 2019 of the year for 2019. How long have you been involved in on with the team?
Ooh, I believe I went to the uh, CIT training, the 40-hour course, a little bit after I became full time. So maybe 2013, 2014, I've been CIT trained. Um,
And what is it? Is there something that you like? Is there something from your personal life, and you don't have to share it, obviously here, but is there something specific that like draws you to that field or that specialty?
I think it's just the fact that you just want to help people, right? You just want to help however you can, and not everybody has, the same. Not everybody was dealt the same hand. So if there's something you can do to help, then just do it.
Yeah, that's great. Great advice. All right. I'd like to open it up for any questions that anyone who's watching has in the chat here that you have specifically for Officer Castillo or the Crisis Intervention Team Unit, or if there's any questions you just have in general about the department that he may be able to address for you. Oh, I see. Our now newly retired Sergeant McGreevy's here. He was a huge part of obviously all of that, the CIT, and he still is. But hello, Sarge. Good to see you. Maricela Contreras. Um, I don't know what the borderline report is. Maybe you do. Maybe you can answer the question, but I'll ask it. Have you read the recently released borderline report, and can you use any of that information for Oxnard? A question for dispatch and Officer Castillo. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I have not read the report yet.
Okay. Florencio says hello. Bocanegra. Florencio Bocanegra says hello. Justin says hi. And I don't know, not a whole lot of questions here, but so that leaves me room to ask some questions. What can you think of, and you might need a couple minutes to reflect, but your most I don't want to say favorite, but what has been the most rewarding aspect of the job? I think you probably just hit with the helping people, but do you have a memory that you can share with us that happened on a specific day in a shift that uh, you would highlight, in always pops up in your mind as a highlight of like that? Yeah, that was one of the best experiences I've had here on this job.
Well, like you said, I've been here for I guess over a decade now. I didn't even realize that, but yeah, a lot of memories. But recently, I I came across a report in regards to a a subject that had gone through a mental health crisis, and I responded to the residents, and I contacted the dad, and I began speaking with him about, okay, what is going on, and he expressed to me that he's never really, dealt with something like this. His daughter is an adult now, and she has her family, and he was just unsure of what to do because now he's faced with this challenge. And while he was speaking to me, he just paused, and I could see that he was, starting to become emotional, and he started crying. And, a lot of times that the public, sees us as police officers and, our badge and our gun. Um, and they forget that we're human too sometimes. So, I had to, you know, not literally, but, take off my badge and gun, and I had to let my human side show. And I just, I gave him a hug and let him know that, like, hey, we're here. Everything's gonna be okay. Regardless of whatever happens, we're here if you need help. And I gave him my card, which had my department cell phone on it, and I told him, just call me, text me, email me if you ever need anything. And just seeing him kind of like take that breath of like, okay, I'm not alone. Um, that was a pretty rewarding feeling.
That's great. And anytime that, you can kind of lift the veil and show people that, of course, each one of our officers is a human being too. We all have families, we all feel emotions. And um, sometimes it just takes a little reminder. And that's sounds like you were the right person to be there at the right time. And um, so many times when people call the police, it's in a horrible situation. Me coming from, my background in dispatch, I always said, nobody ever calls you to say hello, good, are you having a good day? You're talking to people in their most desperate and their most times of needing help. So anytime you're able to just really connect and show people, hey man, we're all in this together,
Mhm.
that's a highlight. um, Jeff McGreevy, who is a retired sergeant with the C.I.T, also asked, well, he wants to know about your background with drag, and because he's heard you like to race, apparently. But he just asked, do you have an example of a successful intervention where your expertise solved a mental health crisis for a family, or you got someone off the street that was severely mentally ill?
Yeah, there's quite a few people in the city that have, severe mental illness, and they generate a lot of calls for service, and our officers are having to respond time and time again. But with one particular uh, person, I would see them out over and over, and I would, just stop and contact them, every day until I was able to develop a rapport with this person. And a lot of times they're nonverbal, and so it was a very difficult process, but eventually I was able to develop that rapport, and they trusted me enough to where I would be able to take them to their appointments at Ventura County Behavioral Health. So whenever the case manager would let me know, hey, this person missed their appointment again, I would go out, and typically they have their areas that they like to hang out in. So, I would find them and let them know, hey, it's your appointment, and they would trust me enough to get into the back of my car, and I would be able to take them to their appointments, and then the case manager is able to work with them more effectively.
One of the big reasons I wanted to have you on this particular show to explain what you do is just to shine a light on it and to show everybody out there that, well, obviously because of your striking personality as well, but because like so many people, especially over this past year, have been crying out for officers to get this training and for officers to be more involved in doing things like I'm hearing you say that you're doing, like reaching out to those who are in mental health crises and need the guidance. Not every time they're getting into a police unit is because they're under arrest, but they are getting help where as much as we can help them.
Mhm.
uh, we We'd love to. And it's great to see that we've got officers that are both trained and assigned to that kind of work. Crystal says hello. So jump back to tell us about drag. A lot of people don't even realize that is an acronym.
Yeah, drag it stands for Drag Racing Against Gangs and Graffiti, but more importantly, it's a youth automotive program where kids are able to, take their attention, which may potentially, be diverted towards things like criminal activity, and they're able to focus on learning automotive skills, which might help them in the future if they pursue that as a career path. And something that drew me to the program is prior to becoming a police officer, I was a Honda mechanic. So it was very natural for me to fit into that environment and be a role model for them. Like, yeah, I loved working on cars. It's just I love this a little bit more. So um, yeah, it's a great program. We The kids go through and they learn social skills, and they learn trade skills, and they're able to learn to give back because the program back to the community just over and over and over, and they see what it's like to give back to less fortunate people, and they learn that feeling of how good it makes you feel to, like, hey, I'm helping this person out. And it's something that stays with them as they grow and mature.
Yeah, to work on cars and also help people at the same time. What
Hmm.
age groups can join drag?
It's high school age.
Okay,
So and they get actual credit through the Ventura County Office of Education. So
that's awesome. So if you haven't heard of it, go ahead and look it up. It's drag, DRAGG.
hmm
Do you know the exact website? I'm not prepared with that, but if
I
you look
don't,
it
but you
up,
can
I'm sure.
Google it.
Yeah, you can Google drag with 2 G's and check out the program. It's been a really, really great thing for the department and the community. We're just about out of time here on, see, it just goes by like that, right? So I like to end every one of these with just rapid fire questions to get to know you. I know you're so excited for this. David Castillo, favorite meal to order out?
In and out.
Favorite meal to make at home?
Ooh, it's this like chicken pasta stuff. I don't know.
First car you ever owned?
1991 Honda CRX SI,
What color?
black.
First concert you ever went to on your own?
On my own.
Well, I mean, not like by yourself, but like
Right.
that your parents didn't drag you to.
You know what? I went to so many concerts when I was younger. I don't, and there were so many bands. I don't remember their names.
None of
I
them?
don't. I'm
Okay.
terrible. I don't even.
Uh,
I don't listen to their music anymore.
do you listen to like podcasts?
I do.
What are your top 2 or 3 podcasts?
Well, I really only listen to one.
Okay.
It's called the Nine Club, and it's about skateboarding. So I used to be a skater when I was a kid growing up, and it's a pro skater who interviews other pro skaters that so that I looked up to when I was growing up. So it's just yeah, that's what I watch now.
So you say you used to be a skater, so you don't skate anymore? You just can't?
I don't want to get hurt.
Okay, fair enough. Um, gosh, he doesn't have any bands that he remembers. Anything about you that you would like people to know that would just blow their mind?
um, No, I'm just a normal guy who just has a job, and I do my job and I work, and go home and spend time with my family.
Favorite sport to watch?
Baseball,
Favorite sport to play?
softball,
Favorite sports team?
Dodgers.
We'll end it with that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here, joining us on the live Q&A straight to you here on the Facebooks. Thank you, Officer David Castillo, for joining us and explaining about your assignment.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Have a great night, everybody, and we'll see you on the next one.